Hello, this is a video where we look at how the new target block can help with multi-item sorters. So the new target block is very cheap to build. If you've got a wheat farm and a small amount of redstone, you can make a target block. So for this design, 99% of it is Gnembon's design. So if you look at Gnembon's multi-item sorter, you'll find that he has this system where he uses powered rails and observers to pulse the hoppers so that they lock and unlock. Now, instead of taking powered rails to transmit the signals, we're basically using redstone elevators. And what the target block allows us to do is it allows us to have our redstone elevator run up the side of our hoppers and then feed directly into the target blocks. As you can see, we've got offset elevators. So the one here is out of sync with the one here, is out of sync in the one here. And you do that as you go across, making the system as wide as you want this way or this way. You do need at least one of both types. These signals then alternate into these target blocks, which turn on and off these hoppers in the pattern we want. So instead of sending our on-off signal directly into these powered rails, we have the same observer repeater pattern, but we use it to feed into a line that we just send up to all of the target blocks. So we send some items in. We'll see that it comes into a dropper elevator. This is exactly the same as Gnembon's design from his multi-item sorter. However, because you are using target blocks, we can be much closer in this way, so we have significantly less hoppers. But other than that, it's the same. These signals are going on and off in an alternating pattern such that these hoppers lock and unlock in an alternating pattern. And this is what allows us to eventually find that our redstone lamps turn up here. And we'll just send those through again. We'll just pull some items out of here to show that they don't get there. And we'll see them come through again very, very shortly. The system is silent simply because it's using Gnembon's dropper elevators, and there's only really droppers in the system that make any noise. There they come. So, as I said before, this is essentially the same as Gnembon's design. So I've copied verbatim his dropper elevators and the timings for the dropper elevators, the way he signals the dropper elevators so that they combine a signal if any of the droppers have an item. So an item hits any of these dropper elevators, not only does it run the clock for the dropper elevator itself, it turns on this signal line here. That signal line feeds into a fader clock, the fader pulse, which runs this clock. The clock is exactly the same as Gnembon's design for the same timings. This feeds into a pair of observers. There's a 6-tick delay between the two, and each one feeds into a 3-tick repeater. So right up until about this point here, it's essentially the same as Gnembon's design. The only difference now is instead of feeding into hoppers directly off this sort of a system, it's running up a redstone tower. And target blocks are feeding the signal for each of the hoppers in turn. As I said before, the disadvantage of this system is you can't have your chests right next to each other. Personally, I like this because if you do double chests end on end, you still have a block to put your item frame. And I do like having my item frame not on the chest because I don't like trying to search around the chest in order to hit it when I'm looking at my item frame. So this disadvantage is not too much of a disadvantage from my perspective. But the significant advantage is the distance between the dropper elevator and the falling line of hoppers is much, much closer. This is about as close as I could get it. Similarly being, if you bring it any further this way, these will start interfering with the dropper. You need to have that block update, so you need to make sure that nothing in this tower is being updated by anything other than this dropper elevator, which is why it's all slabs all the way up here. And it's why right at the bottom here, the redstone elevator takes a short detour this way, then that way again, because if it was over here, it'd be feeding that dropper there and it would be interfering with the elevator. So we need to make sure the redstone tower does not interfere with the elevator. It is very likely somebody could make this bottom layer much, much smaller. I haven't really made too much of an effort to minimize it yet. I don't think there's much you can do about the clock or the pulse extender, but there might be a better way of feeding the signal up into these elevators. Thank you for watching. This is the design I plan on using for my multi-item sorters once we hit 1.16.